conducted myself and handled it. He said, but I didn't like going in blind to something like that. She asked me all the questions about why did I, run Republican and why I do that, because he had, like you said, he has done a lot, like the response, the whole green light thing, he's done a lot. But the city budgeting, that's the biggest budget. Well,
The one thing that I admired about him is that he said he did what he said, and he said what he did. And to me,
who took accountability, unlike the girl, but go ahead.
To me, that's what any of us have to do, is basically come in and tell them, like you said, who we are. Because if they don't know who we are, they don't know why we doing what we doing.
Right.
Everybody frown on politics. I frown on politics because they lie so much.
When it's handled
inappropriately.
Like politics, yeah.
Yeah. But if you in school, politics is just the power to persuade people. But who said we got to persuade them with lies? Why we can't persuade them with the truth, or find organic ways to do that?
And deliver.
Instead of aiding to our seniors, why don't we aid to all our people? I mean, you only using them to get what you want out of them. And then when they're gone, if their children are not educated, you're going to take what they had, those people who supported you, you're going to take from them their children's stuff, which was their stuff. So you just setting them up for the okie doke.
Yep, you setting them up.
Yeah, and that to me, that's just not right. I think we deserve better than that. I think we deserve some organic people who are authentic, who love where they come from, know our struggle, and really want to see things change. And they willing to put themselves out there, whether they know it all, no matter what they know, long as they know enough about themselves that they can go out there and do it, and they can convince the people to help them do it. I believe it can get done. And I don't know, these mayors, I'm trying to stay out of the way so they can get their thing going and get it over with for August 5th.
Yeah.
But they kind of slow. I mean, they fast, You got them out there. Every time I open my door, I got something from Sheffield.
I just got something today. I guess it was from yesterday.
I'm like, you gotta love the game, because she's just putting it out. But my question about
she
that
got big budget though. Hold on, I'm gonna say tell people to tune in or whatever, like you just said. She got big budget though.
Gotta find out who them investors is.
Hey, tune in about 2 minutes. We're going live for Beauty and the D on WJZZ. I have my very special guest in the building, Miss Gina Anderson. And trust me, everybody, this is a show that you don't want to miss. I ain't hear no music or nothing. Hey. Good afternoon, Detroit. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Beauty and the D with your host, me, Stephanie Coney, where we focus on power, wealth, and style here every Saturday from 1 to 2. We're streaming on all social media platforms, so be sure to check us out. And so without fail, every week we have special empowering leaders, wonderful influencers of the city of Detroit. And so today, we wouldn't have it any other way. We have our guest in the studio today, Miss Gina Anderson. Tell Detroit hello.
Hello, Detroit. How y'all doing?
Or we affectionately like to say in the city of Detroit, what up, though?
What up, though?
So I'm going to read your bio just so that people who don't know you can get a clear picture of who you are as we move forward with the interview.
Okay.
So, Cranstanza, can you
pronounce that for you? It's Cranstana Anderson,
aka Gina.
Yes, everybody knows me as Gina. I grew up in Detroit, raised and rooted as Gina.
Okay. So she grew up in Detroit as Gina Brown, with all her UAW sisters and brothers. Her name derives from her father's name, Cranston, right?
Yes.
Who put an A on the end of her mother's middle name, Jean, and called me Gina. So she soon decided that she would use Gina, not Gianna. Gina.
Right.
So you went from Jeana to Gina.
Yes, it was easy. I was younger when I did it. I was like, I don't want your name either. You gave me daddy's name. He gave me your name. So can I just make my own name? And then I came up with Gina, and they was all right with it.
And we're going to circle back to that because how you said I'm going to make my own. And that's what we talk about in leadership, making something your own. Okay.
Mhm.
So her mother worked for the state of Michigan, Chrysler, and later became a cosmetologist, teaching youth to become licensed in various fields of cosmetology. Her father, an automotive engineer who also worked a brief time at Chrysler, Max Stamping, later became an independent contractor. So, as a native daughter of Detroit, raised and rooted in the city, she proudly served her community as an advocate to obtain city services that we require, deserve, and pay taxes for. She continued to work in the community, for the community, with the community, a product of Detroit that took pride in teaching children and young adults how to become self sufficient, how to surpass trying circumstances and expectations with hard work and determination. She grew up in a time when communities collectively participated in raising children, providing many life lessons. And in the early 1970s, her mother moved them on Goddard, 1 block south from 8 Mile Road in the 48234 zip code. Her and her brother were the only black children in the neighborhood. Racism and redlining was the norm. Despite the racial tension, they stuck it out. They often visited the Buffalo Projects, now known as Emerald Springs, where her grandmother lived, so they could play and see friends and family members, and spent many summers at Grandma's house on East Grand Boulevard near Gratiot, where she would frequent Bella with all her cousins and absolutely loved the giant slide in the waterfall. She worked from 11 years old to 2013 for other people and companies. Her first experience of college was in 1990 in the College Lifelong Learning Program at Wayne State University, where she studied African Studies and Political Science. Most people call her Gina because they often pronounce and teased her real name, Krenstansna. Even her English teacher got it wrong, which did bother her. So she's a lifetime East Side resident that knows exactly how it is to live, learn, and work in the city of Detroit and surrounding areas. Her models of good representation are the late City Councilwoman Emma Henderson and the late City Councilwoman Mary Ann Mahaffey. She personally met the late Coleman Young when she was 12 during a hospital stay at the old Holy Cross Hospital and felt protected from racism with his leadership. Her father was an athlete and a member of the Detroit Athletic Club. He also an acquaintance of the late Mayor Young. Her father mastered his craft and did not hesitate to teach her how to protect herself from bad auto mechanics and slash bad actors. She's the oldest of her mother's 2 children, and she lost her brother when he was only 17 to gun violence. After her brother passing away, her mother opened her own business, and she helped her as a receptionist and then as a licensed manicurist, nail tech. She still retains the licenses to this day. So since always, she has assisted neighbors and seniors with applying for property tax assistance and home loan modifications. She began working for herself, supplementing income to keep her head above water, all during the time that she worked and served for others. She is a homeowner who understands the struggles of keeping an income to provide for oneself and meet the demands of home ownership. She has worked to help youth prepare their life walk and to navigate an often changing society. She helps seniors by using her voice and labor to be heard and recognized, not forgotten as if they have no value. So she's on the ballot to become the next city council person for District 3 because we feel deprived of adequate leadership and we need and want someone to act on all of our behalf. So instead of waiting and looking for leadership, she has decided to demonstrate leadership for herself. Thank you again and welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
So I love it. You, at the end of the day, you are a East Side City girl.
I'm an East Side City girl. You couldn't even take me down south without them saying, "Here come the city girl." So yeah.
Yeah. So you are very passionate about your neighborhood, and I want to go back to the beginning when I said I would go circle back and say how you said, you know what, I'm going to give myself my own name.
Mm-hmm.
So at an early age, you begin to just like self-defining yourself.
Yes, yes. I kind of grew up kind of fast because my mother worked a lot of hours, so we were always left with our grandparents.
Mm.
Or that's why grandparents raised me. Basically, my grandmothers, one or the other. I was with one or the other.
Okay.
So we would just had to become independent. It was required of us. That my grandmother ran a tight ship.
Where was she from?
She was from Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
Yeah, and Macon, Georgia. So we come from Georgia, and I don't know how they spread themselves around all through Birmingham. But my grandfather was from Macon, Georgia. My grandmother was from Columbus. My whole family's from Georgia.
Okay.
I just happen to be a Detroit girl.
Okay.
Yeah, they
Same
migrated
here.
up here.
Yeah.
When,
For a better life.
yeah, most of her brothers went to military, and then when they came back, they came up here to work in the plants, the coal mines,
the jobs.
and, the jobs. So once they got established up here, then they went back and got their family, and my grandmother came up with my grandfather. So that's what they did.
And you know that's many of our story. You know, migrating from the south. My grandfather as well moved up here to work in a refinery. A foundry, and we were from Athens, Georgia. This was the place to be, and so I guess many of us want to see Detroit become again the place to be. And it was not just a place to be; it was a place of opportunity for people that wanted to work hard. And I assume that you want to help your community get back to that standard.
Yes, I want to help District 3 revitalize itself. Not just for the business, but just for the people to kind of re-tap into their values and their morals. It's like everything is loose because they done had these circumstances in which they think they have to grow up in, and this is all they see. You don't have to become a product of your environment.
You don't.
You can change it by just doing something with you and not becoming what you see. You got to envision. You have to have an ideal, an ideal about how things should look, or be a visionary. Get a map. I sit there at my house and I'm thinking to myself, from Woodward to Kelly, from 8 Mile to 6 Mile, because that's where I live and that's where I'm running for. I need an architect. I think that's for myself. Give me an architect. Show me how I can revamp the whole East Side District 3 to where we have a business corridors, we got education hubs, we got workstations to help us clean up our community. Not that we should have to, though, because if we use the city services and we appropriate properly, then we would have the resources where residents that's paying taxes don't have to be the ones celebrating Motor City Makeover. It's a good thing to teach our children, but when you got seniors out there trying to clean up because the city hasn't.
Yeah.
That
and I
becomes
want
a
to get to that.
problem.
Let's talk about these resources. But also, so you said you said your family was like the first African American family on the block, correct?
Oh yeah. That was
And that was in the 70s.
Yep. Yeah, that was in the 70s. Most like 72.
Okay.
Yeah, 72. We never seen any black people for a while. We ate a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We came over early. You know, I coexisted with the other kids.
Yeah.
We were friends. We weren't, racism to me is taught.
Yeah.
And no one had taught all of them, but you can tell which ones were taught.
Yeah.
Because their fathers, the head of their households, didn't like black people. If they seen us playing as kids, they, what are you doing with that Nigger, So we just used to look. And then my brother, we was from the project, so we ain't scared,
Right.
But at the same time, my aunt would babysit us. She would come from the projects. She actually came to stay with us when my mom moved there. And she was a student at Wayne State. And they threw bricks through our window with the little paper on it. Go home, go back to Africa, niggas.
And y'all still stayed?
Oh, yeah.
And worked it out?
Yeah, my mom she was a blue collar to the day she died. She, she just a people person. She wasn't scared. And she had lived through the, 60s.
Yeah.
So she knew what it looked like. We weren't familiar with it. My aunt was familiar with it, even though she was a college student. Me and my brother, we were young. We just hovered, we were scared. The brick actually came through my bedroom window, so I didn't want to go in my bedroom without my auntie.
Yeah.
It's I don't want to go. And then we go upstairs. It's we always huddling together in the house, to get by. They did everything but burn the cross in our yard. So,
wow. So what was that like? I mean, how... I want you to tell us in your words, like, how did it change? Because you went through, because it's totally African American over there. No.
So yes, so I was happy to see that. I was happy to see other kids coming on the block that was same color as I was. I was excited.
So
But
you witnessed what was called the white flight, essentially.
yes,
Okay.
it slowly. It didn't go fast though.
It didn't.
No, we got and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to anybody, but what I call quality black folk is quality people who care about what God done blessed them with, and they take care of it so they can get more.
That's right.
See, I don't believe you're gonna get anything if you don't take care of what you have.
True.
So we had those residents that came in that had those same values, were no different. It wasn't like they were, one of the words that the neighbor told me, the white neighbor told me, is that you niggers are gonna tear up everything. When he seen me and my brother coming down on our big wheel, I never forget his words, because when I look at my neighborhood now, that's gut wrenching. Because I look at it and it's nothing
those
like
words
they did.
ring.
Yeah, because I'm looking at a disaster, and sometimes it's caused by the hands of our own people, just because they're not appreciating what they have.
And why do you think that is? Being on a block where you saw the change, vividly. Why do you think that is?
Well, I'm be
from
honest,
the 70s to 25.
Drugs came in and disrupted the whole progressive black movement, as far as us being business owners, home owners, advocates of our land, of our, I want to say property, because we don't own the land, but of our property. We took pride. Pride got lost. We were pride.
So what happened to pride? Do you think drugs killed pride?
I think drugs did its damage to pride.
It made people not appreciate?
Well, not people. Drugs have a negative effect, we know, but the ability to come out of it. It wasn't the drugs. It was the mental damage that it did to them, for those who was on drugs. The shame to come out of that and to revitalize our community. It wasn't easy. It's not easy because it's still going on. But before drugs, it was alcohol. Alcohol, we have in Detroit 384 stores of alcohol, and we should only be allotted 214 to service us. We over-service with alcohol.
Serious? I never knew that.
We're over-service.
Wow.
That of Detroit. It tells you so much. You just, I love the internet, because what I don't know, I can sit at home and just type and look. And then you do have to confirm your information, because sometimes you can't believe. I tell kids now, you don't believe everything you read, but you got to take it and, use it as a source to figure out what you really want to know.
Yeah.
So, but I think it did its toll on it, to the point where we just haven't seen a comeback. And then even that, it was the jobs too. The jobs. We had jobs. We were able to build our own homes. We can look forward to buying a home. We were excited, young people, like when we started working, like we were anxious. Everybody was anxious to work when I was coming up. Everybody wanted a job. We admired the sisters that were a little older than us getting their job at Burger King and McDonald's. Yeah. We was like, we want one because they got their car. Girls, everybody loved Gloria Vanderbilt and Jordache at the time. So this is things, we wanted things. And we were restricted. Our parents didn't buy certain things they were not buying. So when all the modern stuff started coming out and we wanted name brand, we learned that we had to work for what we wanted. Yeah.
So in the beginning of the bio, you mentioned your UAW brothers and sisters. Let's talk about them.
Oh, I love them. We learned hard in our politics in the UAW. The only thing I can say is that the things that we learned in the UAW, I hope we leave in the UAW right there where we was politicking at, because it was a lot of division going on in there too, because they were establishing new folks.
So what local were you affiliated with?
UAW Local 235. They serve as American Axle on Holbrook, Hamtramck.
Okay, so you worked in the plant.
Yep, in blue collar.
Got you. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So
hard working East Side. Detroit.
I haven't worked. I have worked. Like I said, I've been working since I was 11.
Okay. So shout out to your local brothers and sisters.
Hey, UAW Local 235, all my active and senior workers. I love y'all, and I'm looking forward to seeing y'all soon. So yeah.
So I'm assuming you have their support.
Actually, I'm out here as a grassroots candidate.
We love it.
No one even got around me and said, Gina, run for this. No one said anything. It's like everyone complained about one representative. And I figured, if you want change, you try to change it. And then I looked up, I got the same complaints, and I started dealing with that individual myself to see what responses I got. And then I didn't like them, And I said, you know what? Instead of complaining about it, I had members come to me with a petition to remove people. And I'm like,
Really?
yeah, I'm like, well, maybe we can't afford it. Let's look at the finances. Let's learn how to read the finance and budget reports of Detroit.
Okay.
So we can see where the money going. So it's a collaboration of saying we need to learn.
And what did you find in doing that research?
Well, it seems like under the ARPA money, District 3 didn't get its fair share because my understanding and some of the research I've done is that they didn't see a return on their investment when businesses looked at us as an opportunity to bring business in.
Why do you think that is? 48234.
Okay, it's not just 48234. We got 48234, 48205, 48213, 48212, and 48203. We have portions. 48234 is the body because you got all of us.
Okay.
In other zip codes, you have portions of them. So we can't go across Carpenter. You'll go into Hamtramck.
Okay.
You can't go across 6 Mile and Woodward. You go into Highland Park. So, and then they the redistricting is just really something that is another form of division.
Mm-hmm.
The way they have us cut up.
I still don't understand
you can be on this street and then go to the next street and you don't represent them people on that street. You only represent them on this street.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of our people don't even know what districts they're in.
Right.
They don't. They just know what zip codes they have.
Right.
So it's big, and it's not just in 3-4. I just think people have gotten to the point where it don't matter where they at. If something feel not right, it's just not right, and if nobody's educating us, because I think representatives should be educators, because what we don't know, that's why we put you there.
What
to
you
find
don't know
out.
can't hurt you.
It will.
Like for that fund that you were talking about, the funds. So what were those funds appropriated for that they felt that your district wouldn't benefit from?
According to City Council, the 7 council members sit there to work out what all our districts need together collectively. I might bring, as a representative, I could bring it to the table, but we all supposed to work together to make sure our city, no matter what district we in, gets the people get taken care of. Some people focus directly on their own districts, and we just noticed that no funds was actually coming towards us.
Wow.
So no relationships. We felt like no relationships are being built with the county either, because our landscape, one of the first things we noticed is that we weren't staying clean no more. So we weren't getting them city services. We weren't getting our, and then when you request why, they say, well, that's the county's job. So now you got us learning different entities, city, county, state, federal knowledge. We but we grasping at it ourselves. No one's telling you. No one's coming to a meeting to break it down for you without having some other agenda at that time. I don't see you setting up education hubs to break down why we can pay our taxes and yet still get put out of our homes because you don't know where the money's at. Even when people have receipts, they can't even be accommodated until they finish doing their research. I don't understand that. We don't understand that. So
your current city council in your district, have you seen them advocating for your district, coming out to the people?
I see a select few that he comes out to, and that's mostly our seniors because we know they're the voters. So just aiding to voters is not going to reshape us. So that's not going to do it. And most of the time we feel like you aid to them because they have the assets that you want to take over when they soon, perish. So therefore you aid to them because those are the ones you need to manipulate. They need to be the ones that move on to the next part of life that God has for them. And if their children are not educated, then that's going to be an easier way to get into them assets, because you can either take it from them for a lack of paying property taxes or home improvements or fines for not meeting ordinances. And then you've done your job. You've manipulated. But the question is who is the big person that you're manipulating for? Who is those investors that don't care enough about the residents that they would come in?
So who you really advocating
for?
who
you really advocating for?
That's deep.
Yeah, that's the question.
So how many people are running for this position?
From the official,
District 3.
Yes, from the District 3, the official number is the incumbent and then myself.
Oh, this is
So I
going to
don't
be an
have a yeah,
interesting election. How long has he been the council person for District
three
3?
terms,
3 terms.
three
So
terms,
12 years.
12 years.
Wow. And you're a lifelong resident, so you haven't seen much change in those 12 years, I'm assuming.
No, and sometimes I get the feeling because he's not from Detroit, he don't
Really?
know what it's supposed to look like. You can have all the business knowledge and education you want,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't have a heart for Detroit, we just another piece of business to you, and that's the part we want to get past. We could be good allies. We could have been the best allies, but you
Mm-hmm.
got to treat us like we human beings and that we matter.
Mm-hmm.
You can't look over us just for business. And I understand what everybody's saying. Business is business. We got to have money in Detroit. I understand that. But don't think the people can't help you get there.
Right.
You know, the people, you're trying to weave out. In the process of weaving out the ones that don't want anything, you're
Mm-hmm.
eliminating everybody.
Mm.
And that is not fair to be overlooked. Because we do say, and God definitely, we ask him all the time, do not pass us by.
Do not pass us by.
Do not pass
So
us
tell
by.
me this. When and if you are elected, what would you do different, or just in general, what can District 3 expect to see from you?
District 3 will, first of all, see a mass engagement.
Okay.
Um, I'm hoping to staff teams. I mean, out of whatever system or source that I'm able to tap into,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure we have data analysts, that we have someone in the finance and budgeting department, that we in the planning and development team, that we where we matter.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be where we matter. If you're going to bring some business in, we want to make sure it's not going to environmentally kill us. You know, we want to make
Right.
sure we not unhealthy because you putting a business in our backyard and we can't breathe. I'm asthmatic, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting for clean air, fresh water. This, we don't want to go through what Flint went through.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems sometimes with all the hands that the different power is passing through, you're forgetting the people that's being affected. And you only think of them because of the value based on what they're putting in the pot,
Mm-hmm.
what they have. You say people don't want to work, but you don't create quality, good paying jobs. And you look at our millennials and our Gen Z, and you say, oh, they young, they don't want to work. No, they watch what you did to their parents when you took their pensions. They watch when the auto industry left us unemployed. They seen what you do
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
people who work hard for your companies.
Mm-hmm.
So don't say they don't want to work. Provide them with the resources where they can really work. And then let's talk about it. Let's talk about it after you provide something.
I know that's right. So let me see. What is your vision for your community? What would you like to see? Because you did mention like different teams and planning and development was one. What do you want to see in terms of planning and development in District 3?
Well, I look at places like Ferndale.
Okay.
Okay, I like the cleanliness for one. Okay,
Yes.
that is
Very
something
clean.
that I'm passionate about.
Okay.
Is making a appearance of what Detroit could be. I want that to change automatically. That's something I want to make sure we working with Department of General Service Department and making sure we employing our own
Mm-hmm.
people to work. I watch them work when they come out. I walk the alleys with them. I see how they do it because I was so long trying to do it by myself. I'm like, let me
Okay.
see how they get it done. And they came with 15, 18 man crews and they were able to do something in 2 days that we couldn't do in a
Wow.
whole summer.
15, 18-man crew.
But
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Has it been maintained?
no, that's the problem. The
Mm.
residents. That's something that really bothers me. Is that as much as we give, people will assume that they're entitled to this type of service. Well, alleys been closed down for a long time. They took garbage cans out of
Yeah.
alleys for a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm asking our neighbors to let's make sure we clean. So in order to get the General Service Department to come out, you have to sign a pledge
Mm-hmm.
to keep it clean, maintain. So we do our part. But then we have those bad actors, as the city calls them,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't do their part. And more so than that, the people that the Detroit Land Bank sell homes to,
Mm-hmm.
they don't do anything. And then I don't know where the fines are going. If you're fining them, then use that money for our education system that's suffering in our neighborhoods.
That's a good question. When people get fined with the land bank, where does the money go to?
That right there is the question I'm still going to be looking to answer next
Investigating.
time we talk.
Yeah. Where does
Um,
that? Because people do get blight tickets and so forth. Where is that money going?
Right. So sometimes, from what I understand, if they rich, they can when they buy property because
Mhm.
one of the things my opponent does, he loves and prides himself on selling Detroit.
Okay.
Okay, and I asked,
What's in it for him? So I guess it's back end money.
I don't know. I've been a part of different organizations. Skimming off the top ain't never been nobody's secret. They do it.
Okay.
And if you remember, we had a whole FBI investigation that charged him with bribery. And
Wow. And
one
he's
of
still
our,
able to represent the community.
we it's so many questions about that right now that we are not sure how that's working out. Even with the drunk driving in the middle of the road in the city vehicle, that all those things they removed Kwame for,
Mhm.
but how he slid through, and that's why I think it's compromised. I think the office is compromised.
Wow.
I honestly, personally think it's compromised because if we were not compromised, why are we not getting the same thing as District 1 and 2?
Mhm.
Illinois, the avenue of fashion is blooming, and we
Yeah.
just get
Yeah.
a little coin shop here, or you might throw a couple of black owned businesses.
So it's no incentives. You gotta have some incentives.
I don't see any incentives.
Do you think you would work to incentivize, and if so, incentivize, businesses to open up? Because on the 6 Mile Quarter on the west side, because you're from the east 6 Mile Quarter, but on the west, like you got the West McNichols Business Association,
Everything.
also, like we just said, the Avenue of Fashion, like what would you do or incentivize to get your side of East 6 Mile on the map and booming?
Will definitely incentivize and encourage
Mhm.
business to come in. I would really, I'm gonna tell you, engage those homeowners, those people who have vested interest in the community,
Uh-huh.
and try to get them to collaborate on bringing business, starting their own businesses in the community to where, and not just leasing buildings. Let's buy up these buildings so that we don't get put out. I've noticed in Motor City Match, a lot of people get that money and then they can't continue, and then they're just setting up another person's domain to be construction, worked, renovated,
Mhm.
and then they can't even stay there. COVID came and put a lot of people out of business right after they got a Motor City Match.
Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, real talk. That did happen. I've seen a lot, and on the east side too. By the way.
The incentives that I have is not even just for business. It's for voting. People don't take part in the process, and we let our passion almost precede the process.
Mhm.
And if we could just focus on learning the process, then we can actually engage in it properly to where we're not lacking knowledge, so we don't feel like someone's smoke screening us all the time.
So speaking of processes, for those who don't know, what is the exact roles and responsibilities for a city council person?
City council person is a legislative body, and what they do is they create policies and they enforce. They make sure the ordinances are actually something that the people can actually live with and modify those if it's something that is what I want to call it, if it's a hardship.
Okay.
If it's a hardship for the people. So it's about language, and they also vote on those abatements that big business to come into downtown. They have to vote on that.
Mhm.
The only thing that I would do different as far as the abatements go is would make sure that we create a policy that big business come in with. Those
Mhm.
who come in to do business in Detroit, the Dan Gilberts, the Illiches, those people who really have money, to make sure that those proposals that they send over to us,
Mhm.
that they include education, public safety, and infrastructure.
Mm.
That they have specific language in those them plans that will not leave us vulnerable to somebody like Trump because he's cutting all the funding for us. So we need to have some state and local funding in order to continue to service our people or help ourselves.
How does education fit in with, like the city ordinances and other things that city council vote on? Does it fit in there at all?
It should.
Okay.
But city council person, because we don't have authority over the education system, that don't mean we don't advocate. We need to advocate.
Mhm.
We need to use our voice. We need to stand up. We need to be very vocal and aggressive about
Gotcha.
education. We shouldn't be sitting
should
by,
be.
let not anything happen, or just allowing what is happening to keep on happening.
Mhm.
And mental health is going to have to be included in that.
Say that again.
Yeah, mental health has got to be included in that
Support.
because our kids are traumatized through their parents' inability to properly provide for them.
Plus, it's a different time out here for these kids. I have a 15-year-old daughter myself in high school, and I mean, a lot of things that she's battling, I really cannot really relate to. It was not like that when I was 15. You know, it's they have a whole set of different issues going on.
Oh, they different. They sure different than us.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I can't relate.
I have homeowners that ask me, Gina, when you elected, can you and everyone? I'm gonna say my name again because it's Cranston Anderson on the ballot.
Cranston Anderson.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that? District 3.
Yes, but I even have a hard time, flowing with it. So I say Gina a lot.
Okay.
But that's what my neighbors call me, and that's what they ask. Well, Gina, when you get elected, can you just make sure them young people know how to take care of a house? They need some training because
cleaning gutters and
when we grew up, girls learned how to sew.
Yeah.
They learned how to do hair. Like I said, my mom was a cosmetologist.
Yeah.
Everybody in my neighborhood was either getting their hair done, and she did men too. So you had toupees, jerry curls. We had weave masters. I grew up in that era where it wasn't just hair was Detroit was the hair capital of the world.
Yeah.
So we made money off our entrepreneurship, doing what we were skilled to do, learning a craft and becoming a master of our craft. Today, I prepare taxes, and if people do not make a amount of $250,000, they just looked at it like a hobby.
Yeah.
So we gotta know and understand when we telling our people to be entrepreneurs or talk about generational wealth, that they know how that look.
Yeah.
And taking care of your property is one
key.
of the that's your
it's
asset.
Pride.
That's your asset.
Yeah.
If it don't look like it's got no value, you ain't gonna get no value for it.
That's right.
So I take pride in being a Detroiter because we did learn a lot. We learned how to navigate in the streets, and we learned how to be educated in the books. And I came up in the era where teachers paddled you. You got to paddle, and not until people start harming their kids.
Did
the laws change. So much has changed in discipline. You have to be creative about it in order to bring up the kids the way you want them to be. And sometimes as single parents, it don't matter what you do, they still gonna be who they want to be when they get to they part of life where they can do what they want to do.
Absolutely.
So, but yes, I do property value if they don't know how to.
So what does home ownership look like in your district? Do you have, do you have any idea what the ratio is with homeowners versus tenants?
So, it's like 50-50.
Really?
It's about 50-50.
Because home ownership does increase pride.
On my particular street, it's about 75 to 80% homeowners. We have a few renters, just a few, and I know the owners though. I do know the owners of those property, and like the resident asks, could you teach them? So when you get ready to rent out a property, people be desperate to find housing.
Yeah.
Housing is a big issue. Affordable.
Yeah.
And it's not affordable if it's 300 feet and you got to pay $1,200 for it. That's not affordable.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you do is when you're bringing people in, you got to vet your people that's coming into your house as renters. And sometimes you have better renters than you have homeowners. Renters will take care of a property
It's the level
adequately.
of pride.
Yep, it's the level of pride.
Yeah.
What you care about, what you want to look like, what you used to.
Yeah.
And if you ain't used to nothing, then we have to show them and take them places they ain't never been before, so they can
lead
have
by
an idea.
example.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a lot.
Yeah.
But you got to take care of what you got.
So that God can bless you with more.
Yes.
Yep.
That part.
So also in your bio, you did mention that you had lost your brother at he was age 17 to gun violence.
Yeah.
Does that play any role for you in wanting to make the community better? I don't know where he was murdered. Was it in the community or out the community?
It was outside the community. It was on the west side of Detroit.
Okay.
But coming up back then, that was like what is that new show out? The Meat Show where
a BMF.
BMF.
Okay.
Those was back in those days where that's basically how young black men survived. They found themselves becoming involved in a life that elevated them to the point where they thought they had something because of the money they accumulated. But he got killed on the west side of Detroit. Does it have a lot? It does, because what I see happen, because he had a son that he never seen,
Oh my
you
goodness.
know, and what I see happens is that sometimes women, mothers, they get blamed for whatever reason the father is not around.
Mhm.
And that is a lot of another issue where you have to check people's emotions, and then you have these different conflicts with women believing they know how to raise men, but they really and truly don't. You know how to raise them to be good citizens, but we're not men, so we can't raise them to be men.
Something that we not.
Right, we
Yeah.
can't do that.
Yeah.
And I, even when I was raising my two by myself, I tried to play mama and daddy. That didn't work out so well once they got older, because it's frowned on. Like,
Mhm.
who gets 100% mom then? Where's
Right.
mama at? Because you're trying to be both. You can't be who you are or what you was created to be.
And you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. This is a good topic, probably for another show, but I gotta go there. Um, I think that now, currently, a lot of us have our roles mixed up.
Hmm.
A lot of us have our roles mixed up. I find myself, like how we're saying, you try to be mom and dad. I sometimes find myself too much living in my masculine energy. Not because I want
No,
to,
too.
not
Hmm.
because I chose to, but more so because I'm forced to. I have a lot to maintain, a lot to manage. Me don't just run over me. You know what I mean? And I would love to be soft and pink and
Mm.
all of that 100% of the time. That's why I operate best. But sometimes you have to, you got to put on that boss hat and kick the door in. And sometimes we
And
we
it's
get outside our roles.
and it's sad, because as women we should be able to be soft so that we can nurture our men,
Hmm.
and they don't know the value in what we want to do for them versus what we have to do for them.
Well, sometimes the soft and fuzzy and pink gets you taken advantage of.
Definitely. That's now. I'm gonna stand my ground.
And I
I'm
know
gonna
we
stand my
went all
ground.
into left field on that one. But that's what this show about. We
Yeah,
talk about it
yeah.
all.
I'm gonna stand my ground type of female on that. I can't follow a man that ain't gonna lead.
Oh, I'm
I
gonna
can't
drink
do
some
that.
water to that. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
can't do that.
No,
I
if you
can
can't
nurse
get your
you.
own self out of brown
Hmm.
paper bag, I'm gonna follow you. But go ahead.
Right. That's just that's law. You know it's law. I was raised by some very strong women. They took care of us. Not because it wasn't no man in the house. My grandfather passed away. My father and mother. My father had a whole another wife, so I watched him and her. My mother as a single woman, but we didn't really get an example of good women in leadership, because we was always in survival mode. So
That's deep.
everybody was out there doing what they had to do to take care of their kids.
What they had to do.
And that's the dynamics I would like to change. I don't want nobody to have to go into those negative lifestyles in order to get what we deserve. Because it's promised to us, if we live accordingly, we gonna get what we deserve. But we got to care more about other people than we do ourselves.
Hmm.
And I ain't saying take self-preservation and throw it out the door. No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying don't be so self-serving that can't nobody identify that you care about somebody else other than yourself.
That's right. That's
So,
right. Everybody got a cause to stand for, a purpose. So tell Detroit, why are you the best candidate for District 3 City Council woman?
I am the best candidate for Detroit District 3 because I am Detroit District 3. I'm born, raised, and rooted right here. And I love Detroit. And I'm willing to not just do the status quo. I don't want to just sell us. I want to make sure that we saved. And if we can come together and do that, then I'm the candidate that you want, because I'm not telling you that I'm going to do it alone or I'm going to do it by myself. I always use the word we and us because we do this together. District 3 City Council's job is the people's job. That's why I want your vote.
Amen. Well, it was said here. So you truly have a grassroots campaign. Talk about that. Talk about your team.
It's team. That's I'm the team. God is my team, because everybody
Amen.
jumps in where they fit in. It's really not structured to the point where we have everything in order. I have people just jumping on and telling you, well, come here. I want you to talk to these people, or just meet us here. We're going to host this. I didn't
So you got
think
people
about this.
believing in you.
Yeah, yeah, I got people believing in me and knowing that I didn't really plan this. This wasn't a plan. It was a necessity.
Hmm.
It wasn't planned. It was something we needed to do, and we actually thought we were going to have another candidate and they didn't get their signatures. Just so happened I went out just in case,
Okay.
and the signatures I got them, and I say it's in divine order.
Divine order.
It's in divine order because I told God when I thought the thought, I'm like, nah, we ain't gonna do that because they got big money. I don't have money. I'm just like everybody else. I'm trying to survive just like everybody else. The taxes, the mortgage, the car note, the insurance,
firsthand.
yes, the medical. You need dental. You need vision. Every single thing that you can think of. I am like the people of District 3. I'm not above them. I'm not below them. I am with them. So I understand the most. Sometimes I just think people forget where they come from when they get so high. And even in the union, I made six-figure income, and I never forgot where I came from.
Okay.
Yeah, I made just as much as money as the international union did, and I never forgot where I came from. The brother that he lost his job for maybe his own reason, I still made sure he knew the process and knew how to apply the knowledge he needed to represent himself if he felt like he wasn't being represented.
So what was your role in the UAW?
I was a full-time recording secretary. First, I was a youth committee recording secretary.
What does the youth committee do for the UAW?
So when GM started making their transition, they hired all us young people. Okay? So we were called youth. And what they used to try to do is separate the youth from the seniority members so we wouldn't have that organized labor knowledge. So we started organizing. We seen what was going on because the older people ask us when they take us in meetings, what they telling y'all young people. So I used to be the one to be like, this is what they tell us, this is what they told us. I was the one. I believed in my elders because I was raised by older people.
Yeah.
So I would tell them, and they was like, okay, y'all need to do a youth committee, So we did that. I got elected. This how grassroots is just like this one is grassroots. I came to work and did not know we was having an election, and somebody wanted the job that I was running for. I got a piece of lined paper and wrote my name on there for recording secretary.
Oh, that was grassroots for real.
Wrote my name on there, and I got elected. And then I sold dinners to get to the Constitutional Convention to learn about the Constitution. Actually, we cooked them too.
So you know how to turn the stove
on?
on?
Girl, that's what I do. Now my family, I usually give the events in the 4th of July. I'm a Labor Day girl. I love to do Labor Day. I don't like doing as much as I used to.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not one. But I got elected as our trustee, which is a 3-year term, and semi-annually takes you out of the plant. So we work on the shop floor if we're not full-time officers, and we get relieved by the union. So they'll pay us for that day that we come out of the plant to service the union. And as a trustee, I was able to allocate funds to get new computer systems because they were still living in the Stone Age days with the image printers. The image printers, you tear off the paper on the side.
Yeah. Oh no.
They had that. So we allocated like $25,000 just to upgrade the local union. After a term as trustee, I got appointed because GM started transferring, trying to get their members to buy out or go to another GM plant because American Axle wanted to, have a different contract with us that didn't give us as many as benefits that the General Motors contract had.
Okay.
So that didn't actually work out so good. We still stayed under the umbrella of GM, and some of the workers stayed, but some of the workers left.
Okay.
And one of the workers that left was our full-time recording secretary. And, you had a lot of people running for stuff. I had just came off maternity with my youngest son, and I ran for financial treasurer because I was the trustee, so everybody in my caucus would go for treasurer, but I always wanted the recording secretary's job.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. They've been behind me. I'm going to go ahead and run. So I ran, and I didn't make it, but I had been back like 2 weeks, and I got 241 votes, and they said, oh, she electable. So I went on to support. I'm the type of person to support a candidate.
That's right.
I got behind the other person because I was serious about removing the one that was there. I wanted somebody, and I was supporting. So
you are no stranger to this, trying to knock somebody out the seat.
And I was appointed. I went to the 8th Philip Randolph dinner, got appointed for recording secretary for 6 months, ran, got it, served as a full-time officer for 4 years. And what I did is I processed grievances. I was part of the arbitration where we sent grievances from one step to the next step. I sat in negotiations with our local contract between the UAW shop committee and management. And I got most of my knowledge on contractual language from there, watching them, and constitutional language, because it was a lot of things being done that wasn't supposed to. And because we didn't know the jobs that good, we were just running for them.
Uh-huh.
The president at the time was at an executive board member doing something. He was like, "Can you do that?" He was like, "Y'all supposed to know about these jobs before y'all run for them." So it was me and the education director got together and we dissected contracts. We dissected the
Wow.
Constitution.
Okay.
We dissected bylaws.
Uh-huh.
And then we ran our show. We was the new people, and we brung it. We tried to keep it where it was supposed to be, representing the people. And that was always my position, to make sure I'm doing my job. But you will find yourself doing a lot, because the recording secretary was supposed to know everybody's job.
Yeah.
That's her job.
Yeah.
Anybody come on new, she gives them their information,
Mhm.
job description. So I knew everyone's job, and I would get accused of trying to do too much. But it was just that when people came to you, I'm a civil servant.
Yeah.
I serve people.
So you are no stranger to representing the people, as you have stated.
Yeah, I'm a server. So yeah, I know how to do it.
So if anybody wants to contribute or volunteer to be a part of your team, how can they do so?
So they go to my website, which is still getting worked on, but you can click on the volunteer list. You can click on the donate list. The QR codes. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm new to creating my own website. Mostly everything I've done, even the flyers, I've done everything myself.
Okay.
Um,
Very nice.
I do
Everybody.
use union shops to make sure that the union understands that I am still 100% down with the UAW. I
Okay.
love them. Like everything, we just make sure we get the right representation, and the purpose of the organizations work. The purpose of the city council works. So anything that we have will work. We just got to remember to work harder enough to find out about the people we putting in there.
Mm-hmm.
So they can go on to Cranston for DIST
Mm-hmm.
3.org. So
Say that again.
that's Cranston, the number 4,
and spell that.
DIST.
No, spell
Oh, my
Cranston.
name?
Yeah.
Cranston is CRANSTANA, the number 4, DIST.org. That's how you can get to the website to donate or volunteer. And we're looking for volunteers, canvassers, phone bankers.
Mm-hmm.
My team is small. I have a operations manager, and I have some precinct delegates that really
Okay.
enjoy meeting me and working with me, and they've been showing me a lot. Because my issues was my community.
Yeah.
Running for city council, my issues is everybody's issues. Now them issues belong to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been going into different zip codes, finding out what's actually going on over here.
Yeah.
What's actually going on over here.
And what's working, what's not working. Yeah.
Oh, it's more than we could actually.
So have you been doing a lot of canvassing in your
A
district?
lot. Everywhere I go.
Okay.
Everywhere I don't go anywhere without my literature. I don't go anywhere.
That's right.
I don't go to I don't buy food in a restaurant without telling somebody what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
where I live. I'm asking people where you live. I'm a people person, so
And
I
I
know how to
love that
approach.
about
Yeah.
you. And I love that you have so much work with the union, because it shows that, you do know how to get stuff done. That's all political.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for being here. But before we get out of here, what one thing before we go, we got like a minute, do you want Detroit and your district to know about Gina Anderson?
It's Cranston, and everyone that knows Gina, they already know. It's everyone who has to learn who Cranston is.
Okay.
Cranston, I'm embracing my name because I never have. So I'm hoping everybody will learn how to pronounce it. And it's pronounced. If you learn
It's pretty.
It's
Cranston.
phonics. It's phonics. Cran-sta-na. And all I want you to know about me is that I am you. I understand what you're going through. My mother, my children, we all live right in our community, in our district. I have watched each and every one of you go to work, come home, raise your children, support us in what we're doing, and we just need everyone to understand what needs to be done and get to it. It's not something one person can do. So know that I'm not running just to be a candidate or just to be the council person. I'm a people person that wants to know what the people want. So I am Cranston Anderson. A vote for me is a vote for you. It's a
Okay.
vote for all of us. That's it.
Thank you again, Cranston,
Thank you.
for being here.
I appreciate you.
your
Thanks for having
time.
me.
Appreciate you explaining your story. And I want to give a very special shout out to Miss Mary Kim Curry, I'm sorry, for introducing me to you, and she's truly down for you as well.
Thank you.
A
Thank you.
longtime precinct delegate.
Yes, thank you, Miss Curry. I love you.
Yes, so thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Beauty in the D, live on WJZZ, where we focus on power, wealth, and style. We'll see you again next week, same time, same place, from 1 to 2. Take care, everybody. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Yes.
And be blessed, Detroit. See you next week. Peace. That was a good show.